personality of Godhead that the moon nourishes all vegetables. Due to the moon's influence, the vegetables become delicious. Without the moonshine, the vegetables can neither grow nor taste succulent. Human society is working, living comfortably, and enjoying food due to the supply from the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, mankind could not survive. The word rasatmakaha is very significant. Everything becomes palatable by the agency of the Supreme Lord through the influence of the moon. Om jnanatimirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chukshurun militam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. Haribo. So this may be before your time, but I remember watching TV when I was a kid. And we would have Mahalia Jackson. Does that name ring a bell? She was a singer in a Baptist church and became very famous. And one of the songs that I remember is, "You got the whole world in his hand. He's got the whole world in his hand." Remember? It's exactly what's being described here. Isn't that what Prabhu just said? Yeah. That the Lord, through his energies, is sustaining everything. This is one of the basic principles of understanding how things are going on. Just to step back a moment, Krishna consciousness, Bhakti Yoga, develops on the basis, really, of our knowledge. Now, the knowledge is really a result of our engaging in bhakti, but without that knowledge developing, without our being receptive to the knowledge, we can't really make any tangible progress. So the way that that knowledge first manifests is through this process of sambandha. There's these three stages: sambandha, abhideya, prayojana. And actually, you can apply these three to any endeavor, and I'll explain why. Sambandha means understanding what is what in the world before you even do anything. You have to understand. For instance, if you want to achieve self-realization, you must know what the self is, right? That's the first lesson of Bhagavad Gita. You're not the body, you're pure spirit soul. So that's the first stage. But real complete sambandha, as Prabhupada mentioned in the 13th chapter, which was all about the Lord and his energies and things, is that we have to know matter and spirit and the controller of both. And for the most part, welcome, I have your disc. People just investigate matter. There's so much to understand about matter. There's the way that the weather works, the climate works. It's in everybody's mind now because it's getting, it's changing all the time. But it's hugely complicated. All the different forces, the sun is going on, right, and the water and the different airs and things. They can predict, but they know it's just a certain percentage of, like if you look on the iPad every morning, I look on the iPad, what's the forecast? Well, there's a 60% chance of rain, but there's also a 40% chance it won't rain. We don't really know for sure. It's too complicated, right? So that's the way the material world is. It's very, very intricate, the way these energies interact according to the modes of nature. But if all of our knowledge is simply involved in that, even though it may be very subtle, it may be very, very intricate, it may be very interesting, it still is incomplete because it has nothing. We know nothing. First of all, you know nothing about ourselves as spirit. What to speak of the Supreme Spirit, the source of everything? So that's why Prabhupada says matter, okay, that's part of it. Spirit and the controller of both. That's sambandha. What is the relationship between God and this world? Is it just like there's whole philosophies, theologies built on the idea that, yeah, there's a God, but he's just like a watchmaker. He winds it up and then forgets about it. That's what this world is, and just going automatically. We believe in evolution, but God is the one who made it work, And then he doesn't believe in any interest that the Lord may have in the world now. It's just a machine that you start going, So that's fallacious, according to Krishna has so much interest. He explains in the 4th chapter how he comes, why he comes to this world. Do you need a chair, Prabhu? Hare Krishna? I guess not. Okay. How about a seat? Can you take a little cushion? Okay, good. Why don't you sit on this side, just for etiquette's sake? Is that okay?
Yeah.
No, over here. Okay, just
Over here?
yeah, just bring it over. Carry one of those seats over with you. All right, we got plenty of seats, yeah. And Adrian, why don't you set him up with a book?
Okay.
Hare Krishna. So there are all of these intricate things going on, but the material world is a result. And why does Krishna come here? For a reason. He cares about the place, right? It's not that it's just some watchmaker, impersonal, and just set it up and now it's going on very intricately. So understanding the truth of what this world is and its relationship with the Lord and our relationship with Krishna and with this world, that's Sambandha. It's a big, big topic. It's a big, big topic. So here we're hearing a little bit about how Krishna sustains the world. It's nothing is happening automatically. This is like the first thing, and really intuitively that makes all kinds of sense. Because you can see everything is organized, even the wind's blowing, but it blows at a certain direction, a certain speed, there's a certain temperature, right? And things are going on. I mean, things are organized. There's a million ways in which they could just dissolve into chaos. But somehow the sun is coming up and the thing is going on, our blood is pumping and all of this intricate, incredibly intricate. So that is evidence of an intelligence. And Krishna here is telling us some of the ways in which he works in this world. First is that he's entering the planets, is that on a macro level, I mean, every so often, isn't it, you hear, yes, there is an asteroid coming to the Earth, and it's going to miss by only 300,000 miles. That is very, very close, and everyone gets, oh, is it, we're lucky, we missed it. So things are, there's all kinds of things happening in this one little universe or solar system. But they're not happening by chance. So Krishna says, Gama Vishya Bhutani. I enter the planets and keep them aloft. In other words, all of this circulation and the orbiting and everything is going on with somebody's intelligence in it. And by my ojas, right, Dhariyami aham ojasa, by my energy. There's different kinds of strength. Ojas is, I think, generally said to be like a sensual strength, a certain kind of strength. There's also mental strength. There's also obviously physical strength. There's different words for that. Bala is another word for strength, different kind of strength. And then Pushnami Chaushadi Sarva Somo Buddhava Satmaka. So this, revelation, I never knew this before, that the moon is very important in, making the subtle influences that makes the vegetables nourishing and helps them, So that's indicating that, it's better that vegetables grow in open fields rather than in artificial greenhouses and things like that, Organic. So Krishna is doing that. The moon, the sun, the air, everything is arranged, and we're the beneficiaries of it. Now, having understood that, then it comes to the point, okay, so we're just receiving all of this benefit. If we want to establish a relationship with God, then we have to figure out how to give it back, or give some of it back. Now, clearly, it's this whole idea, Prabhu would often tell the analogy, to worship the Ganges. There's millions of Indians who worship the Ganges all the time. And generally, they take some water in the palm, or some other container, and then they'll, with mantras and everything, offer the water back to the Ganges. Well, the Ganges give you the water. It's not decreased by you taking a palmful of water. It's not increased by you giving the water. And you're using the water. So what does the Ganges have to gain? But it's the feeling. It's the sense that you're appreciating the sacredness and the purity and the mercy of the sacred river. That's so helpful for us. If you bathe in the Ganges, all your sins are gone. Even material, they've proved, right? It's very antiseptic. Even for your material health, it's good. So similarly, whatever we have to give to Krishna, he's given to us already, right? Even our very bodies, our intelligence, whatever we use for worship or for sacrifice, even the beads we chant, everything is already given. So he's not increased by our worshiping, he's not decreased by our not worshiping, but it's all helpful for us. It's the proper use of our facility. Narada Muni gives the example, famous example. You're walking in a forest and you get a thorn. So how do you get it out? Well, you get another thorn, and then you throw both thorns away. I used to have a similar experience, so I didn't know the analogy. When I was growing up, we had wooden floors. And I would run around like any kid, and every so often I'd get a splinter, right? So I didn't take another splinter out, but I asked my mother, can I borrow your needle, the sewing needle, because she had a sewing box. She said, okay, take the sewing box. I take the needle and carefully dig. So if you dig just right, it doesn't really hurt. You just do a little and get out the splinter. So the idea is we have these bodies, and they're actually a burden. In other words, we don't need them. We think that they're the greatest thing, you know, especially when they're healthy and nice and beautiful. But really, this is a great restriction on the soul. Because the first thing we learn is that we're not this body, we're spirit soul. And why does the body have two hands and legs and all these things? Because your spiritual body has. Just as you're wearing a sweatshirt, why does it have two arms? Because you have two arms, right? So similarly, we have this body is built on the template of the spirit. But what is that spiritual body in detail? What is its exact function and exact service by which it's serving Krishna? That we have to discover. But we can use this body, even though it is a contamination, a burden, and is actually our shackles to this world in present time. We can use this very body, just like it used the thorn, to ultimately get free from the body. That's the art and science of Bhakti Yoga. And part of it is understanding how everything is going on, the air, the sun, the moon, the vegetables. Krishna is involved in that, in sustaining them and making them succulent, in sustaining us, which means that we're always connected. Through our intelligence, we can always remember Krishna at every step. That's part of what's going on here. Okay, any questions on this particular verse? Anything, Prabhu?
Somewhere I read that the Krishna on Goloka Vrindavana, the form of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavana, he's not involved in the
day-to-day
managing. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So the material world. So how can it be explained that he is actually managing the material world and all of this, loss of the material nature? Is it his just energy which comes from the Goloka Vrindavana here?
No.
Or is it a specific form of Krishna?
Yes. Well, that's what's explained. The title of this chapter is Purushottam Yoga. And that Purushottam, Supreme Person, Purusha Uttama, is ultimately the super soul. So Krishna, he manages in the most expert way. And that is by delegation. And we say he expands, right? So the first expansion is Baladev. And then Baladev expands into Sankirtan, expands into the first Chatavyuha, part of the Chatavyuha. This is Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Anuruddha, and Sankirtan. Then there's another Narayan, and there's another four. And then eventually from one of those Sankirtans comes Mahavishnu. But all of them are Vishnu Tattva, meaning they're non-different from Krishna. We can't do that, so it sounds amazing. But after all, Krishna is omnipotent. Omnipotent means, he can do things that we can't do and can't even imagine. So that expansion, it's him, but as you say, he's not directly absorbed, in this management of this. But he is concerned, and sometimes he does come personally. But when he spoke to his Bhagavad, this is Krishna himself coming to earth. But it doesn't mean that he's absent in Goloka. This is like, Goloka eva nivasatte kilatma bhuta. This is Brahma Samhita. That's a famous line, right? Goloka eva nivasati. He's in Goloka. Akilatma bhuta, but he's also in the hearts of every living entity. So by two ways, by the personal expansion, and also, as you say, by the emanation of energy. This is how this world is being sustained. But it's important to remember that through his expansions as Mahavishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and Chiradaksha Vishnu, who ultimately expands in every heart and every atom, he's personally present. And that intelligence that we experience, that we have, is actually being informed by the Supersoul, as he will say in 2 verses. Matak smriti jnanam apohanangshram. From me is coming remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness. So that's how he's both here and he's not here. As you say, in his personal, intimate relationships, he's in Goloka Vrindavan. you know. But you know, there's a pale reflection of that. A very powerful billionaire, you know. You don't see them, you know, catching the train or even getting into the limousine so they can get to the office on time, you know. They're on the golf course, you know, maybe a little cell phone call every hour or so, because they've delegated. So this is, you know, Prabhupada said, you can understand something about God by contemplating yourself, since we're part and parcel. So if we were all powerful, you know, and all wealthy and all beautiful, what would we do? We certainly wouldn't work, you know. We would delegate everything and we'd play all day. Isn't that what everyone wants to do? But we can't, because we have this hard struggle for existence, right? So Krishna, he's able to do that, and the only reason why he does all this expansion and everything is because there's rascals like us who are rebellious, but we're still his children, and so he still cares about us, and so he makes an arrangement for us to, you know, tough love, to be punished, but at the same time to have the opportunity to learn our real relationship and how we can get out. So that's that's going on. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, let's go on. Yes, Prabhu?
Can you tell me the translation of
Sambandha
Sambandha?
is really means relationship, relationship between these things that I mentioned. The Lord, this world, and ourselves, and the relationships between all those three.
So it's not understanding each individually, it's understanding the relationship.
Well, the tattva, let me, if you permit me, we will share with you one verse by Bhaktivinoda Thakur where he summarizes these three. This is this Dashamula. Did I give anyone that Dashamula verse? Someone else I gave. Oh, it was Mukunda, I think. Anyway, Dashamula means 10 roots of the philosophy. And this was gleaned by Bhaktivinoda Thakur by studying the teachings of Lord Chaitanya to Sanatana Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. That comprises 3 or 4 chapters. It's the most extensive, detailed teachings of Lord Chaitanya that are in the CC. And going through there carefully, he gleaned these 10 roots of the philosophy. Now, it's good to know these because it's a nice framework. Every verse, and I once saw a list, probably, you know, he was dividing the verses of the Bhagavad Gita into these 3 categories. So here's the long verse. Amnayak praha tattvam hadamiha padamam sarva shaktim rasabdim tad binang shangs to jivan prakatika valitang tad vimuktangs to bara beda beda prakasham sakalam apihare sadhanam shuddha bhaktim sadyam tad pritameve tupadishya janan goda chandram vajetam. So what he's saying there, I worship Gaura Chandra, Lord Chaitanya, who taught these 10 principles of philosophy. The first one is, how do we know what we know? This is, this is Amnayak Prahatatvam. Amnayak means the Vedic literatures in toto, beginning with the four Vedas and the Puranas, the Vedanta Sutra, the Itihasas or histories, mainly Mahabharata and Ramayana, and Shastras like that, Upanishads. So this is the source of knowledge of the truth. And what do they say? So that's the first point. Then the next 9 give the whole philosophy in a nutshell, and it's divided into these 3 categories. So the first principle is Hadamiha Padamam. Krishna is God. That's the basis of this understanding. Krishna is the supreme. Hari. Hadamiha Padamam. So what about Krishna? Sarva Shaktim. He's filled with all kinds of energies. That in itself is a big topic. Internal energies, marginal energies, ourselves, external energies, which we see here. We won't get into detail. So Hadamiya Padam. But he's more than just a powerhouse. Rasabdim. He's an ocean of rasa. Meaning he's a person relating to unlimited persons in the spiritual world and in this world also. So that's a little summary, and of course there's a lot of subtopics under there. But that's who Krishna is. First. Then who are we? Tadbinang shangs to jivan. The jivas are his separated, binna, angsha. In other words, we're eternally separated. We never merge, really. When it says we merge in, that's just temporary. We always have our individuality. So, tadbinang shangs to jivan. And what about those jivas? Prakriti kavalitam. Many of them, such as ourselves, are swallowed up by this prakriti, external energy. In other words, we're bewildered and we go, we're hard struggle for existence. We're very familiar with that. But not to despair. Tad vimuktang stabhava. By his influence, some can be liberated as well. So that's the jivas. Then comes this unique feature of Lord Chaitanya's philosophy, which reconciles so many other philosophies. Veda Veda Prakasham Sakalam Apihare. Everything, both spiritual and material, is simultaneously and conceivably separate from and one with Hari. And how that's true, that's a whole topic in itself. You could write books on it. But that's very important. So all of those topics that I mentioned are part of Sambandha so far. We're not done yet. Now we go to Abhideya. Sadhanam Shuddha Bhaktim. The sadhana is pure devotion. That in itself, you write books on it, Nectar of Devotion, right? Now, there's a lot in there, but that's the pure devotion, untinged by any material desire and uninterrupted. Ahoitaki and Nahapatiyata is the Sanskrit word. So then what's the goal of all this? Sadhyam, it's called the sadhya, tad pritameva, is the love for Krishna. So these are, the first 8 are sambandha, having to do with what's the source of our knowledge, who is God, what's the jiva, and what is everything simultaneously one and different. Then comes the practice, abhideya, which is pure devotion, big topic with many subtopics. And then the goal is pure love for God, and that's also a big topic. But that's a very nice way of organizing, your understanding of what's going on here. So we're hearing now about basically sambandha, how Krishna is sustaining and he's acting in this world. Okay, should we go on? Yes, go ahead.
Well, Dashamula is also an herb
No kidding.
that's used in Ayurveda to pacify a Vata personality.
Oh, I never knew that.
Too dry, moves too much.
10 roots. Is it comprised of 10 roots? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. I didn't know that. Text 14. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashritaha Pranapana Samayukta Pachamyanam Chaturbidham. I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the 4 kinds of foodstuff. Purport. According to Ayurvedic Shastra, we understand that there is a fire in the stomach which digests all food sent there. When the fire is not blazing, there is no hunger, and when the fire is in order, we become hungry. Sometimes when the fire is not going nicely, treatment is required. In any case, this fire is representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedic mantras, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 591, also confirm that the Supreme Lord, or Brahman, is situated in the form of fire within the stomach and is digesting all kinds of foodstuff. I am Agnir Vaishvanaro Yo Yamantak Purushe Yenedamannam Pachyate. Therefore, since he is helping the digestion of all kinds of foodstuff, the living entity is not independent in the eating process. Unless the Supreme Lord helps him in digesting, there is no possibility of eating. He thus produces and digests foodstuff. So this produces goes back to the previous verse, where he's creating the moon and all the things, and of course brings the rain as well. He's producing and digests the foodstuff, and by his grace we are enjoying life. In the Vedanta Sutra, 1.2.27, this is also confirmed. Shabdadibhyontak patishtanacha. The Lord is situated within sound and within the body, within the air and even within the stomach, as the digestive force. There are 4 kinds of foodstuff. Some are drunk, some are chewed, some are licked up, some are sucked, and he is the digestive force for all of them. So, what a blessing it is to have a good appetite, right? And there's a verse about that, which I don't remember the Sanskrit, but it's described how that until, how does it say? All the processes of devotional service are very enjoyable as long as one is desirous or longing for contact with the Lord. So it brings up this idea of how we're trying to fire up the hunger for Krishna, or desire for Krishna. I think I shared this verse with you. I'm giving so many classes, I forget just when. But it may have been last night. That one of the things that we're supposed to give up, which is one of the gates leading to hell, is greed. Krishna says, Trivadam Nadakasedam Dvaram Nashanam Atmanak Kama Krodhas Tata Lobhas Tasmade Tatvayam Prajay. In the 16th chapter, he's describing the demonic qualities. And he's saying there that there's 3 gates leading to hell: lust, anger, and greed. The wise person gives these up. And then how does he act? Acharat Yatmanak Shreyas, for his good and for the good of everybody. But certainly greed for material things is very entangling. It's just an extreme expression of lust, actually. But greed for Krishna is something we're trying to cultivate. And this verse, where Prabhupada got the phrase Krishna consciousness, he says it's from this verse. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitam ati kriyatam hirikuto bilabhyate tatra laulim apimulyam ekalam tanmakoti sikatayam labhyate. This Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitam ati literally means the mind absorbed in Krishna bhakti rasa. It's the pleasure of serving Krishna in love. That's a great state to be in, for the mind to be absorbed. But so if you can buy it, then go buy it wherever you can. He uses this analogy, but you have to have the price. So a price is called a mulyam. Tatra laulyam api mulyam ekalam. The one price that you pay is your greed for it, your desire for it. You can't get it by millions of births of pious activity, sukritis, sacrifices. So how to get that desire for Krishna, that's what all of this is about, this process of devotional service. So first comes a great interest in Krishna. This is these chapters and these and how we're related to Krishna. And then comes the process that has been given, especially for this age, chiefly chanting the holy name in the proper state of mind. And that alone awakens interest in Krishna and disinterest in Maya, and pursuing that properly ultimately can awaken this real fire, the digestion, the longing for Krishna. And we can get great examples of that in the pure devotees and read about it, like the gopis, or you read the Kaliya pastime. I always love that pastime because you have all the residents of Vrindavan together, and even the little insects and everybody. Because Krishna's, the pastime where he was captured by this snake in this poison water. Talk about water pollution. Forget about Flint. This Kali had created this huge poison lake in the Yamuna, so poisonous that the fumes were killing the birds. They would fly up and sink down in the water. It was horrible. And the cows drink water. The boys drank the water. They died. Krishna brought them back to life. And then he saw that this Kali has to be dealt with. So fearlessly, he tightened his belt like a wrestler, climbed up to the one tree that was still alive, a Kadamba tree. There's various reasons why it was alive, I won't get into. And then he jumps in, and Krishna can make himself real heavy or light at will. So he was like really heavy, and it caused like a tidal wave on the shore. The water went up like 100 feet and everything. So then he's swimming around fearlessly, and Kali becomes very angry. He's this big snake with many, many hoods, poisonous, like big cobra, And what's this? Some challenge to my domain, So he grabs Krishna and he's holding him tight in this, entangled in one of his snake coils. So then this is Krishna's. This is what he does. He engineers extreme emotional feelings in his devotees. So he could have dispatched this Kali with one flip of his hand, but he didn't. He just stayed there, wrapped up in a coil. And so then there were these omens coming. Bad omens were seen in the village. And then they said, oh my God, it's Balaram's birthday. He didn't go out with Krishna today, so he is not protected by Balaram, who's a little bigger. So all of the, the Yashoda and all the gopis and the gopas, they started following his footprints to find out where Krishna went. And they all came, and cows were there, to the shore. And all they saw was this little, delicate little boy within this huge coil of the snake. He's got all these hoods, and he's hissing and belching, the fire and everything. And so they didn't know he's God. They think he's just a little beloved Krishna. So it's like Mother Yashoda fainted. Nanda Maharaj wanted to go into the water, and Balaram, he knew, so he stopped everybody, So it went on for, an hour, 2 hours, till they were on the point of death, of this despair of Krishna. So he engineered all this. So just at that point, he breaks out, from the coil. And Kali said, what's this? And then he starts going round and round and round and round until Kali is exhausted. And then Krishna jumps up and he starts dancing on his hoods. Demigods come down, accompanying with sweet drumming, not like me with my little bongo playing. Very nice. And it's heard that all of the meters of Chanda, of Sanskrit, were originally created by Krishna's dancing on Kaliya. There's amazing meters. Or the Viradavali. Did you ever hear of that Viradavali? This is a great book. Govinda Viradavali is Viruda is a form of poetry where you're calling out with great anxiety. And Avali means this series. So a series of callings out. And it's a certain metric thing you put together. And Jiva Goswami wrote one, Gopal Viradavali, but the most famous is Govinda Viradavali by Rupa Goswami. So here, you can hear how he's dancing. It goes on like that. I remember that. That's just one Viradavali form. So all of that, Krishna's dancing, so naturally all of the residents are so relieved, and So this is, you read the Krishna book, and he's doing this all the time. This is what he does. He's just arranging for the meeting and separation, and the specific mood. Mother Yashoda, she's always in anxiety. I thought we were supposed to become peaceful and become Brahmabhuta. What's going on? But in that level, it's just constant anxiety of love, maternal love, worried about Krishna. We just read this last night, right? The little boy's going out into the big forest. All these cows and all, the wild animals, and there's thorns on the ground, there's fire, she's worried. She's worried. And Balaram, you're going to take care of it, like that. So she doesn't know. She's covered. She doesn't know he's God. He's just this loving little boy. You're engineering that mood, and his friends, exuberant, playing, all kinds of games, teasing, wrestling, swinging on the boughs, Did you ever just go out to play? Do the kids do that anymore? Or is everything structured, soccer, lacrosse? And when we went out, when I was a kid, it was all just play, right? So that's what they're doing, playing exuberantly. That's the friendship, And of course, he has a relationship with the demons, he's chivalrous, ghastly relationship, he kills them, And then, of course, with the gopis, that's the other one, when are we going to see him again? And you can read about it in the Bhagavatam. Krishna's going out, right? So that in itself is a whole experience, the separation, So they're watching, and they're saying, Barha Pida Natavada Babu. As Krishna, he's dressed in this way. He's got the peacock plume, and he's playing the flute. It's just like nectar to our ears. You have the yellow garments glowing like yellow gold, and the Vaishyanti garland dressed in, with 5 different colors, so fragrant, and it's and then they meditate him when he's out in the forest. Akshan Bhatam, what do they say? Dhanyasmamudagatayo. They're visualizing. They're like right there, and but they're home doing their duties, but they're singing. And so he said, how fortunate are these foolish deer. They're just foolish deer, but they're so much more fortunate than we are. We're stuck here in the village, and they're out there, and they're able to come to Krishna with their husbands, no less. Our husbands, as Prabhupada says, are not very happy when we go to Krishna. But they're able to offer their service. You know what the deer can offer? Just the loving glances. That's how they worship Krishna. That's Dhanyasmudagata Yoga Ed Nam Yanda Nandanamapaita Chitram. How does it go? I forget the Sanskrit. But they come before Krishna, both the male and female deer, and they just offer their loving glance with their beautiful eyes, the doe eyes, the beautiful eyes. And the cows are drinking in that nectar, the flute sound. It's all built on the flute, Venugit, So this is how the gopis are, they're, longing. When is he going to come back? Coming back, coming back. There's whole Ashtaka I once memorized on just Krishna's coming back. He's coming back from the forest. It's a whole event. They go up to the top of the roof. There's a little arrangement up there where they can see as far as possible. And they see the dust cloud is coming. Because imagine all those cows, it's very... And then it comes closer, closer. And they hear a little hint of the flute sound, and then their hearts start beating faster, and Mother Yashoda, he's coming, he's coming, he's coming. And every day it's the same thing. So this is what Krishna is doing in the spiritual world. That's called Rasabdim. He's the ocean of rasa, And that's where we belong. When you look at material life, you see that we're searching for those rasas, And there's also, in Goloka Vrindavan, in the spiritual world, nothing is dead. That flute is alive. And the gopis are envious. They say, Saki Mutta di Vishala Chit the Bhalena Purna, Bhagavadgitaclass Gundina Nirisha, Kamibodisi Shashachun Bananam Sandram Hadikata Padidam Bamkena Punyo Lieta. They said, my dear friend, the flute, you're very dry, you're full of knots, you got holes, So what pious activity did you perform that you're always being embraced by the hands of Krishna and kissing and getting kissed by his lips? And we're sitting here alone back in the complaining, So this is all coming from Bhagavatam. You can see the verses. The root is in the Bhagavatam, and Rupa Goswami, the other Goswamis, they would expand, on it. But that's, it's such a sweet thing. So we're meant to get from here to there by contemplating that, serving, and absorbing ourselves. And by hearing about it, he says, oh, I want to really experience that. Let me chant Hare Krishna. Let me, become pure so I can experience. If you don't hear about it, then you can't want to get into it. That's why Prabhupada, he stopped Bhagavatam, he did the Krishna book for us. Because he said, well, they're all chanting Hare Krishna, but they don't really know much about who Krishna is. So he gave us the 10th canto, very mercifully. All right, did we do 14? We did. Yes. Now, 15, very important verse. And after this one, we'll read the Krishna book. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto mattak smriti jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvar ahameva vedyo Vedanta kridin veda vedeva chaham. All right, we're going to read this purport, and then, but we'll do this verse again tomorrow. It's so important. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Purport. The Supreme Lord is situated as the Paramatma in everyone's heart, and it is from him that all activities are initiated. The living entity forgets everything of his past life, but he has to act according to the direction of the Supreme Lord, who is witness to all his work. Therefore, he begins his work according to his past deeds. Required knowledge is supplied to him, and remembrance is given to him, and he forgets also about his past life. Thus, the Lord is not only all-pervading, he is also localized in every individual heart. He awards the different fruit of results. He is worshipable not only as the impersonal Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the localized Paramatma, but as the form of the incarnation of the Vedas as well. The Vedas give the right direction to people so that they can properly mold their lives and come back to Godhead, back to home. The Vedas offer knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And Krishna in his incarnation as Vyasadeva is the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra. A commentation on the Vedanta Sutra by Vyasadeva in the Srimad Bhagavatam gives the real understanding of the Vedanta Sutra. The Supreme Lord is so full that for the deliverance of the conditioned soul, he is the supplier and digester of foodstuff, the witness of his activity, and the giver of knowledge in the form of the Vedas, and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the teacher of the Bhagavad Gita. He is worshipable by the conditioned soul. Thus God is all good, God is all merciful. Antak parishta shasta jananam. The living entity forgets as soon as he quits his present body. But he begins his work again, initiated by the Supreme Lord. Although he forgets, the Lord gives him the intelligence to renew his work where he ended his last life. So not only does the living entity enjoy or suffer in this world according to the dictation from the Supreme Lord situated locally in the heart, but he receives the opportunity to understand the Vedas from him. If one is serious about understanding the Vedic knowledge, then Krishna gives the required intelligence. Why does he present the Vedic knowledge for understanding? Because a living entity individually needs to understand Krishna. The Vedic literature confirms this. Yo sao sarva vedar giyate. In all Vedic literature, beginning from the four Vedas, the Vedanta Sutra, and the Upanishads and Puranas, the glories of the Supreme Lord are celebrated. By performance of Vedic rituals, discussion of the Vedic philosophy, and worship of the Lord in devotional service, he is attained. Therefore, the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Krishna. The Vedas give us direction by which to understand Krishna and the process of realizing him. The ultimate goal is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedanta Sutra 114 confirms this in the following words. Tattu samanvayat. One can attain perfection in 3 stages. By understanding Vedic literature, one can understand his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By performing the different processes, one can approach him, and at the end, one can attain the supreme goal, who is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there you have Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana right there, in that sense. In this verse, the purpose of the Vedas, the understanding of the Vedas, and the goal of the Vedas are clearly defined. So there's so much to be understood about this. Just a little bit, I do want to leave some time for Krishna book. Prabhu quotes this verse all the time. And two of these concepts here are very much emphasized. Matak smritir jnanam apohanancha. Krishna is in the heart as the super soul, and here from him is coming remembrance. Now that's explained here, that we're born, and we grow up, but we don't know how to continue our activities from the previous life. That's applied to us. We see it obviously in the lower animals, where we told, that's instinct. How does the beaver know how to make the dam? Do they study in the university? Is there some book? No. They just know. And like birds, they're born and then they just, and then they're out of the nest, boom, they're flying. So this instinct is nothing but the super soul. Inspiring them and giving them the information that they need. Now, in human life, of course, it's much more complicated than that, much because we have a bigger brain. But the same principle is there. Our remembrance is coming, knowledge is coming, and forgetfulness. Now, forgetfulness is often a great blessing. Ask anybody who's gone through some trauma in the war. How much do we hear? PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder or something. Because it's so horrible what they saw, what they did, what they were forced to do, what they witnessed, that has created a memory that they can't get rid of. And sometimes it's totally debilitating. So forgetting our past traumas, because we all died at one point, many times, we can live this life, peacefully because we're able to forget. So forgetfulness can also be a blessing. But if we want to forget Krishna, he'll also give us that. That's also coming for him. So understand now, as the super soul, Krishna is trying to give us good instruction, right? The whole famous analogy of the 2 birds in the tree. Like we're the enjoying bird, trying to eat the fruits of that tree in the form of sense gratification. And the super soul bird is just watching, the witness, and waiting until we give up this self-destructive endeavor and turn to him and ask for instruction. Now, we can't see the super soul in our present contaminated condition, but he comes externally to help us in the form of the spiritual master, the sadhus, and especially the Shastra. And if we're open to it, if we're receptive to that message, then we get more intelligence. Don't forget in the 10th chapter, that famous verse, Tesham satadiyuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamapiyantite. To those who are worshiping me with love, or wanting to worship me with love and trying their best, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. And how did that intelligence came? It came to us, in the 60s, 70s, in the form of Prabhupada and his speaking and his books and devotees like that. So it's just a question of receptivity. And as far as the Vedas go, Vedaisha sarva meva vejo, it's such an important line, Prabhupada deals with it. All the Vedic literature, as I quoted that other one, amnayak prahatatvam, all the amnayas, the ones that even don't seem to speak directly about Krishna. Ultimately, the whole purpose is to bring one to realization of Krishna. And that's the reason why the Bhagavatam was written. Remember, if you go to the Bhagavatam itself, you'll find in chapter 5, 6, and 7, Vyasadeva, he was disturbed. He had written all the other Vedas. He'd written the Upanishads, he'd written the Mahabharata already, and he'd written the Vedanta Sutra, but he wasn't dissatisfied. Even the other Puranas he wrote. But of course they talked about Krishna Bhakti, but not wholly and solely. There was some other stuff mixed in, what you call bridge preaching or something, Well, we know that they can't take it straight thing, so better, there's a place for that. But that's everything was that, Like all these rituals to go to the heavenly planets. Okay, they're not ready to worship Krishna directly, they want to go to the heavenly planets, so we'll sneak in some Om, Vishnu in there, and this way they'll get purified. But Narada said, no. They're going to forget about all the transcendental stuff and they'll just go for the sense gratification. And so you have to write a book that's just wholly and solely about Krishna, Krishna Bhakti, the avatars and the devotees and like that. And that's what Bhagavatam is. That's why Bhagavatam is so dear to the devotees. It's right in the Bhagavatam. It says that Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Tad Vaishnavana Priyam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the pure, Amala, completely pure Purana, very dear to the Vaishnavas, because it gives, and it's the ripened fruit of all the Vedic knowledge. So basically, that's the book we need. Otherwise, we get lost in these vast Vedas and all the other Puranas. And I was certainly lost. Pull this Upanishad off this. Well, why don't I read a little bit about Buddhism and this and that? And just go nuts. But Prabhu said, no. Focus. Here's the essence of the essence. Remember at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, the sages wanted to say, now speak the essence. Because the Kali Yuga guys don't have time. They don't have long enough life. They don't have enough concentration to go through all these Vedas. Give them the essence. So they gave them the Bhagavatam. Now it's 18 volumes, so it's still plenty, substantial. But it's what we need. So I'm going to stop here because I want to leave time now to read a little Krishna book. But we're going to explore this verse again tomorrow if you're able to come. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Yes.
Thank you, Sadhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming. We're not done yet, but I appreciate it. Let's just glorious to Prabhupada, repeating his words. So yesterday we had the request, which I didn't honor completely, but we did read something very interesting about it. Any other specific pastime requests from Krishna book? We can entertain them now. Otherwise, I'm going to pick one out myself. Okay.
What about that Leela where, so Krishna is, he was pretending that he was another boy. So when he was caught with stealing the butter, and another woman brought him to his mother, to Yashoda, and at this moment he just changed his appearance to another's boy. So Yashoda was very surprised that was not Krishna, that was someone else. She said, "It is your son." And then when this woman watched the boy, that was her son because Krishna changed his appearance.
It's definitely not in Krishna book. But we'll figure that one out. All right, here's one of my favorite pastimes. The Dhenukasura. I really like this pastime because you have all different rasas in here if you think about it. So in this way, Krishna, along with his elder brother Balaram, passed the childhood age known as Kumara and stepped into the age known as Poganda. Now in Kumara, they heard the calves. But then in Poganda, a little older, now they're given the cows. From the 6th year up to the 10th, that's Bhagavad. At that time, all the cowherd men conferred and agreed to give those boys who had passed their 5th year charge of the cows and the pasturing ground. So they matriculated, they graduated now. Given charge of the cows, Krishna and Balaram traversed Vrindavan, purifying the land with their lotus footprints. Accompanied by the cowherd boys and Balaram, Krishna brought forward the cows and played on his flute as he entered the forest of Vrindavan, which is full of flowers and vegetables and pasturing grass. The Vrindavan forest was as sanctified as the clear mind of a devotee and was full of bees, flowers, and fruits. There were chirping birds and clear water lakes with waters that could relieve one of all fatigue. Sweet-smelling breezes blew always, refreshing the mind and body. Krishna, with his friends and Balaram, entered the forest and, seeing the favorable situation, desired to enjoy the atmosphere to the fullest extent. So before we go on, I'm going to share with you a little poem that I wrote in this regard. For Krishna and his multitude of friends, a festival of joy each day would bring. A special thrill in Braja's verdant glens was riding with him high upon a swing. These are different names of Krishna's friends. O Ujjvala, Sridhama, Bhadrasena, just see Vrindavan's bountiful delights. The peacock's dance, the songbird's sweet refrain, the lakes and hills and other scenic sights. All these make this the best place on the earth for us to play all day and herd the cows. Thus Krishna, in the mood of sportive mirth, enthused his friends while swinging from the boughs. And now let's continue. Krishna saw all the trees overloaded with fruits and fresh twigs, bending down to touch the ground as if welcoming him by touching his lotus feet. He was very much pleased by the behavior of the trees, fruits, and flowers, and he began to smile, realizing their desires. Now, in this particular chapter, Balaram is featured. So Krishna now starts glorifying Balaram, and his Balaram eventually kills Dhenukasura. Krishna then spoke to his elder brother Balaram. My dear brother, you are superior to all of us, and your lotus feet are worshipped by the demigods. Just see how these trees full with fruits and flowers have bent down to worship your lotus feet. It appears that they are trying to get out of the darkness that has obliged them to accept the form of trees. Now, I think this is a close quote here. Prabhu gives a comment. Actually, the trees born in the land of Vrindavan are not ordinary living entities. Having held the impersonal point of view in their past lives, they have been put there in this stationary condition of life, but now they have the opportunity of seeing you in Vrindavan. So is Krishna continuing to speak. And they are praying for further advancement in spiritual life through your personal association. Generally, living entities in the mode of darkness obtain the bodies of trees. The impersonalist philosophers are in that darkness, but they eradicate it by taking full advantage of your presence. I think the drones, bees, that are buzzing all around you must have been your devotees in their past lives. They cannot leave your company because no one can be a better, more affectionate master than you. You are the supreme and original personality of Godhead, and the drones are just trying to spread your glories by chanting at every moment. I think some of them must be great sages, devotees of your lordship, and they're disguising themselves in the form of bees because they're unable to give up your company for a moment. My dear brother, you are the supreme worshipable Godhead. Just see how the peacocks are dancing before you in great ecstasy. The deer, whose behavior is just like that of the gopis, are welcoming you with the same affection. And the cuckoos who are residing in this forest are welcoming you with their joyful, sweet cries because they consider that your appearance in their home is so auspicious. Even though they're trees and animals, these residents of Vrindavan are glorifying you. They are prepared to welcome you to the best of their ability, as is the practice of great souls in receiving another great soul at home. As for the land, it is so pious and fortunate because the footprints of your lotus feet are marking its body. It's quite natural for these Vrindavan inhabitants to thus receive a great personality like you. The herbs, the creepers, the plants are also so fortunate to touch your lotus feet, and by your touching the twigs with your fingernails, these small plants are also made glorious. As for the hills and rivers, they too are now glorious because you're glancing at them. And above all, the damsels of Braj, the gopis, are the most glorious because you embrace them with your strong arms, being attracted by their beauty. In this way, Krishna and Balaram began to enjoy the residents of Vrindavan to their full satisfaction as they herded the calves and cows on the bank of the Yamuna. In some places, Krishna and Balaram were accompanied by their friends. The boys were singing, imitating the humming sound of the drones and accompanying Krishna and Balaram, who were garlanded with forest flowers. While walking, the boys sometimes imitated the quacking sound of the swans in the lakes, or when they saw the peacocks dancing, they imitated them before Krishna. Krishna also moved his neck, imitating the dancing and making his friends laugh. The cows taken care of by Krishna had different names, and Krishna would call them with love. After hearing Krishna calling, the cows would immediately respond by mooing, and the boys would enjoy this exchange to their heart's content. They would all imitate the sound vibrations made by the different kinds of birds, especially the chakors, the peacocks, the cuckoos, and the bhagavadgita. Sometimes, when they would see the weaker animals fleeing out of fear of the sounds of tigers and lions, the boys, along with Krishna and Balaram, would imitate the animals and run away with them. When they felt some fatigue, they would sit down, and Balaram would put his head on the lap of one of the boys just to take rest, and Krishna would immediately come and begin massaging the legs of Balaram. And sometimes Krishna would take a palm fan and fan the body of Balaram, causing a pleasing breeze to relieve him of his fatigue. Other boys would sometimes dance or sing while Balaram took rest, and sometimes they would wrestle among themselves or jump. When the boys were thus engaged, Krishna would immediately join them, and catching their hands, he would enjoy their company and laugh and praise their activities. When Krishna would feel tired and fatigued, he would sometimes take shelter of the root of a big tree or the lap of a cowherd boy and lie down. When he would lie down with the boy or a root as his pillow, some of the boys would come and massage his legs, and some would fan his body with a fan made from leaves. Some of the more talented boys would sing in very sweet voices and please him. Thus very soon his fatigue would go away. And there we need to stop and begin for the arati. So we'll pick that up tomorrow. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Mahasi, for
Hare Krishna. Can you stay for the kirtan? We just have
I've already eaten.
No, we're not eating. We're just going to sing before the Lord. Yeah, you're going to be 5 minutes and we'll be ready. We do have prasad later, but it's optional. I got your disc.
I have to leave early today.
Okay.
don't like that.
Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Okay, yeah, can you play? Srimate Bhakti Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravanichacarine Anirikesha Shunyamvari Ashacharitatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Krishna. Jai Mitra Paramahansa Bodhidikacharya Astatura Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila
Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Prabhupada Paramahansa Bodhidikacharya Astatura Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavanda ki jai. Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Hare Krishna Chaitanya Bhavanityananda Sri Bhakti Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gokokina Shantan Radhakuran Gita Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Jagannath Swami ki jai. Ganga Mahi ki jai. Yamuna Mahi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glory to the assembled body. All glory to the assembled body. All glory to the assembled body. All glory to Sri Guru. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Halara Halara Dayine Hiranya Kasipo Vaksha Asila Tantana Karagi Eton Sringa Paraton Sringo Yato Yato Yamitato Sringa Ayin Sringo Rindayin Sringo Yasing Hamading Sharanang Kapade Navakara Kamaravare Ambuta Kinga Andarita Nakatipu Danum Ringa Vinavasita Narari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Namakara Kamana Krishna Vandita Narari
Hare Krishna. Prasadam? Okay, is it not contagious anymore?
Actually, we shouldn't serve either. Adriel, can you serve prasadam?
Yeah.
Yeah, always. Yeah, me too.
What's up?
Thank you. I was
You had a question?
Yes, okay, but there's a prayer, concentration, it's very long, it's like 31 verses.
Yeah,
Yes.
Vishnu Kavacha.
Yes, thank you. So I was preparing something to,
You wanted me to sing it?
huh? No, I have it, and I've been
You want a
reading it,
recording?
and, that would actually be wonderful. But also it said, somewhere in it, it's to write it, in, like, it says to write on your arm, or like on a leaf, or, I know, I'm not, no, but I was just.
They put the little things around. We can deal with that.
Okay, because I'm wondering how to write 31 verses on the leaf. I mean, it just, my mind just couldn't.
Generally, you don't worry about it, but it comes pre-done. You know, like in India, they have them in Vrindavan. Don't they have the little Narayan Kavacha?
In Mayapur,
Mayapur,
they have the concept. But
yeah,
little bit down.
within the silver.
Yeah, silver.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they-
that's in
Right.
Mayapur.
Huh? Can we get them here? I don't know if they may have some in the store, but there's still some devotees in India. We can try to write to one of them, see if they can get it.
Yeah, that's
But remind me, okay? Write to me.
Okay, I will write to you. Thank you.
Hey, Vishnu.
No, I have to Detroit and she is local. Prabhu is from LA.
He's visiting California.
I'm working here, so yeah, Monday, Thursday, and then Thursday I go back to Detroit. So weekends I'm there, and then
So 2 more days. I have to go back.
she's pretty. She lives local. She lives here in India.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad that you have only Detroit.
Oh, you were there in Detroit?
Oh, yeah. I'll be there, probably in July.
Oh, yeah.
Until the last July.
Oh, you were there last year?
Not last July, but 2014.
I think I met you.
Was it 2014?
Are you with their mother Prabhu?
Yeah.
So then I met
So
you.
then my friend.
Yeah, their mother Prabhu was like, they bought a new facility.
Yeah, she was good.
Yeah, Epsilon. So I was there last weekend. Yeah, they are doing very good, nice programs. So this is Rajan, Rajan. He's from LA.
Beautiful.